Thank you, Council President. Colleagues, each November, communities around the world observe the World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims. We honor the people who lost their lives or suffered serious injuries on our streets. We hold space for their families who live with that loss every day. But it is also a moment for us, particularly here in Los Angeles, to face a hard truth. Los Angeles is failing to protect people on our roads. Remembering victims without changing the conditions that kill them is a choice. To honor someone who died in a crosswalk or on a bike and then sit still while the same dangers remain is unacceptable. We know this. Last month, a hit-and-run driver struck a member of my staff as she crossed the street with her dog. She survived serious injuries after spending almost a week at the hospital. Her dog did not. Her recovery is long, her grief is real. This harm reaches into every corner of Los Angeles. It affects colleagues, neighbors, and families who never expected to carry this kind of loss. We know what works. We know which streets kill the most people. We know how to redesign them. We know which tools reduce speeds and prevent crashes. And Angelenos desperately want us to do that work. It's why 65% of voters approved Measure HLA a year and a half ago. But HLA did not have a funding source attached to match the scale of the problem, and the city has never meaningfully invested in street safety. Lives depend on real investment in safer streets, not one-time patches that fade when budgets get tight, which we know they often do. Every number in our traffic fatality reports represents someone with a name. A grandmother in Century City killed while walking with her husband 3 weeks ago. Tanya Perry, a Metro bus driver, killed 2 weeks ago while she was on her break in Eagle Rock. A parent, a child, a worker on their way home, a mom walking her daughter to school. We all get the reports from LADOT, and every time our hearts sink. So many of these deaths are preventable. This is a public health crisis that demands urgency and leadership. The city adopted Vision Zero in 2015, pledging to eliminate traffic deaths in 10 years. That 10 years is up, and yet our numbers have gone in the wrong direction. Traffic deaths are up too. From 2017 to 2021, the number of deaths climbed 20%, and the number of crashes between a vehicle and pedestrian that resulted in death or serious injury climbed 53%. The high injury network covers a small share of streets in the city of Los Angeles, but is responsible for the most loss of life, and we still have not delivered the level of engineering and enforcement that the network demands. Vision Zero will never succeed without real funding tied to a clear work plan. And we know that there's a disproportionate number of these high injury network roads in poorer communities across our city, which makes it doubly unacceptable. I'm committed, as I know many around this horseshoe do as well, to pushing for these structural changes, stronger Vision Zero work, better street design, and dedicated funding that puts safety first. Councilwoman Hutt is going to be speaking next if she's here. Oh, you walked up while I was speaking. Okay. I missed you. I'm sorry. Councilwoman Hutt. Councilwoman Hutt to make a few remarks.
Oh, that's right. You can see me, huh? Thank you so much. I want to thank Councilmember Yaroslavsky for shining a light on this important day. Today, we stand together as one community to remember the lives taken from traffic violence. This is something that we know far too many people have dealt with in our city. The theme for this year's Day of Remembrance, Remember, Support, Act, shows us that reflection without action falls short, and that support without systematic change still leaves us vulnerable. That's why, as a city, we must push for safer streets and equity in our transportation system across the board. As the chair of the Transportation Committee, I'm proud of how the city has created relationships with community groups like Safe Streets for All and Biking While Black to bring real change to our city. This work must be done with people whose boots on the ground are related to the issues. And I want to thank them for all the advocates who continue to fight for safer streets. We must be proactive, not reactive, when it comes to traffic safety. That's how we safeguard lives. Across the city, we're working hard to make neighborhoods safer and more pedestrian and walker-friendly. That's why it's important that we support initiatives like the Bayona Bike Path and Ciclavia that allows us to get around without the need for a car and change the narrative that cars are more important than people. And let me tell you, as long as I continue to serve in this seat, the city will continue to work hand in hand with our communities, public safety teams, the transportation department, community leaders, and affected families to continue to make the streets safer. We will remember the lives cut short. We will support those who survived and carry the weight of the loss. And we will act by pushing urgently for evidence-based safety measures, effective street management, and new approaches that make our public streets genuinely accessible for everyone. Today is not just a day of remembrance. It's a powerful call to action where we collectively transform our grief into purpose and our shared loss into irreversible catalysts for safer streets. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hutt. Colleagues, it's now my honor to welcome leadership from Streets Are For Everyone, SAFE's Executive Director, Damian Kevitt.
Thank you, everyone. Hello. I know most of you have worked with a lot of you. I appreciate being up here, and on behalf of the staff and volunteers of Streets Are For Everyone, some of whom are here behind me, I appreciate that we are honoring this World Day of Remembrance. But let's be real, this is not a celebration. In the city of Los Angeles in 2024, there are 302 individuals who lost their lives due to traffic violence and thousands more who were seriously injured. If you look across LA County, that number tops 711 lives lost and nearly 10,000 seriously injured. SAFE, along with a dozen other state, local agencies, nonprofits, and some family members who have lost their loved ones, will be remembering each and every one of those 711 lives lost across LA County in 2024, across the street at Caltrans Plaza on Sunday, starting at 12 p.m. You will find 711 empty chairs displayed, each with a yellow rose placed symbolically to represent each person who won't be with their families this holidays due to traffic violence. I think it's ironic that we are here today on the year that LA City's Vision Zero program had previously set the goal to achieve 0 traffic fatalities. 302 is not 0. While I don't think anyone ever honestly expected to achieve 0 in only 10 years, it was a goal and a target worth obtaining. You are all well aware of the shortcomings of Vision Zero thanks to a comprehensive audit that was released earlier this year. Those failures were documented in the audit in black and white. Those failures translated to more blood on our roads by those who have been injured or killed due to preventable, and the key word is preventable, traffic violence. So on behalf of the staff and volunteers of SAFE, on behalf of all of those who've lost their lives, who've been seriously injured in the last 10 years, I urge each one of you to please rededicate the city to the principles and strategies that have made Vision Zero policies so effective in saving lives in other cities. This is not an easy thing to do. It's sometimes not popular. I don't think any one of you ran for office because it was easy to do. You ran because each of you believed you could make the difficult decisions to make things better and to save lives. So on the eve of World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims, I urge each of you to do that. Make a difference, make things better, save lives. I call on the council to formulate and adopt new comprehensive Vision Zero plan that addresses each of the failures of the previous Vision Zero policy. I call on each of you to direct the city's agencies to take the sometimes hard steps needed to prioritize the lives and safeties of those using our roads, because there is no reason why people have to be at risk of dying on our roads just because they are walking or bicycling or driving to and from home or work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Damien. I'd like to turn it over to the council president
Yes.
before closing.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Yaroslavsky. We've got a few members on the queue, beginning with Councilmember Rodriguez.
Thank you, Councilmember Yaroslavsky and Hutt, for bringing these folks in. And Damien, it's good to see you. And, you know, I want to thank you for channeling your own experience and turning it into action through your advocacy and your partnership. You know, we first met because I had a stretch of Foothill Boulevard where there had been 6 traffic deaths, vehicular and cyclist deaths along a stretch of Foothill Boulevard in 6 months. And there were installation of protected bike lanes and a lot of street treatments that were done. And as you know, much to the resistance of members of the community that said it wasn't necessary. The other part of the conversation that we forgot when we talk about the victims of these incidents are those that are the drivers whose lives are forever changed as well because of the unintended accident that occurred that took someone's life. And we saw that happen on that stretch of Foothill when we did the Finish the Ride. There are families on both sides that are affected and friends that are affected by these tragic incidents. And I want to thank you for helping to educate members of the public about the incredible importance of this work. I'm really proud, as we were talking about earlier, I'm very proud to have extended even more protected bike lanes in my district, because where there's a will, there's a way. From the nearly $100 million or over $100 million of state funding that I worked with the Department of Street Services to secure for active transportation grants, there are other means, not just looking at our own city budget, to help ensure that we are creating safe pedestrian and bicycle access on our streets, because we all have to coexist. I'm very proud to represent a part of the city that is frankly very pedestrian and bicycle transit oriented, very heavily dependent upon that. And so it frankly makes it a no-brainer to start introducing the kinds of street calming measures that are important to creating a safe coexistence. I always say it's not just, for me, it's not just the pedestrians and the cyclists, but I also have equestrians. And I have to create a safe space for all of them to be able to coexist on these roads. So I want to thank you for your advocacy and for your work and partnership with my office. I look forward to doing our version of the Northeast Valley's Tour de France in our area. But again, thank you for your advocacy and your work and your partnership. I look forward to continuing that work together.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Rodriguez. Councilmember Blumenfield.
Thank you, Yaroslavsky, Hutt, for bringing this important presentation. Damien, everyone from Streets for Everyone. I just think this is so important that we remember our road traffic victims. You know, citywide, we're almost at that frightening point where citywide we're going to have more traffic deaths than we do homicides. We passed that point a long time ago in the Valley. In fact, we are almost double the amount of traffic deaths by traffic violence versus homicides in the Valley. And in my district, you're much more likely to be killed by traffic violence. That is a shameful statistic on many grounds. In fact, a couple of years ago in 2018, a Reseda High School student named Sebastian Montero was killed bicycling in my district, and we went out together, and that prompted me to start the city's roadside memorial sign program that allows the victims to be remembered, but also includes a safety message on those signs. It's just to try to raise awareness about traffic violence. But we need to do better. You know, Vision Zero was a great vision, a very great concept, but we have not lived up to that. And as you've all pointed out, there are a lot of reasons for that, but my hope is if we redouble our efforts here on the council, there are very practical things that we can do. And of course, chief among them is funding the infrastructure that's needed to keep people safe. So thank you so much for bringing this forward. Thank you all for your consistent advocacy on this issue. And I yield back the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blumenfield. Councilmember Hernandez.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Councilwoman Hutt and Yaroslavsky, for bringing this forward and your leadership on highlighting this issue. My district has many high-injury networks, and I remember my first year in office, I met a young man, 29 years old, whose mind and body was completely shattered and broken when he was hit by a car riding his bike in the southern portion of my district. And I'm grateful to you, Damien, as well, for all your advocacy and leadership. We've been working together in Angelino Heights, trying to bring in more safe street infrastructure and working towards expanding green space there while adding safe street infrastructure. It's something I look forward to, and I know that we're gonna get across the finish line, even if it takes us a little bit of time. But grateful for all the advocacy you all bring up, because we need it. We need to keep hearing what an issue this is and how it is a priority for our communities and how we're losing people. And people are getting hurt and their bodies are being broken. These are investments that we need to make, and so keeping this at the forefront is helpful for us when we have to make decisions around the budget and the Department of Transportation and investments in safe street infrastructure. This is public safety. When we think about public safety, it's big, and this is a big portion of it. So I'm thankful for you all and your leadership on this, and thank you, Council President.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Hernandez. Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Thank you so much, Council President. Councilwoman Yaroslavsky and Hutt and Damien, thank you so much for coming here and continuing to highlight this very deeply urgent issue, right? When we hear that there are more deaths due to traffic violence than homicides, we don't act with that same level of urgency. Every time Council President does an adjourning motion, many times it's because of traffic violence. Councilmember Price, Councilmember Hutt, it's about traffic violence. And if we zoom out a little bit and look at it from a historical lens, is because those communities with red lines many years ago, they did not receive the same level of investment. That means they did not get the same level of infrastructure, and it happens more likely in poor Black and brown communities. And in my district, I'm very, very happy that I've worked with you, Damien, and many other advocacy groups for putting in a 2.1 miles of protected bike lane, because we were not going to prioritize someone's convenience over someone's lives. And we get a lot of complaints that it's slower to go down Hollywood Boulevard and that which council member did that. And what I always tell people was that was the point. Because the number one factor of deaths is the speed of the car. If you look at everything else, it is the speed of the car. And so yes, it was to slow down the traffic on purpose without sacrificing any of our public safety infrastructure. So we have to have these uncomfortable conversations. We have to continue to bring forward the many people that are dying every single day on our street, because we have to do something. And I agree with Councilmember Blumenfield. It's not just about saying that, but it has to be reflective in our budget. Measure HLA passed with 66% of the citywide vote. They are asking us to do this. And so I hope when we come to budget season again, that we come and we fight for folks that are being hurt every single day on our city streets. And again, it's not just an issue of safety, but it's also a race issue, racial equity. And guess what? It's also good for the environment. So we're hitting a lot of boxes when we do this. So thank you so much for bringing this again. And we continue having these discussions, and hopefully we can change the city for the better. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Soto Martinez, and thank you, Councilmember Yaroslavsky and Councilmember Hutt, for bringing this issue and keeping it in the forefront. One little data point that I think people always find shocking is South LA is the epicenter for homicides, especially by guns, in the city of LA, really in the county of LA. Every year I've been on this council, traffic fatalities have exceeded gun deaths. every single year. And the gap is getting wider because we're actually figuring out how to get in front of gun violence. And those numbers continue to plummet. But the sticky number that stays the same or goes up, unfortunately, is pedestrian deaths and traffic-related deaths. And so there really isn't a more important issue that we face as a council and as a city is figuring out how we get around in a way that lets us all get around. And those of us who have to walk, those of us who have to ride a bike, and those of us who are on public transportation and private transportation. So every time this issue is raised, I think it's important for us to highlight it. So thank you for the opportunity to do that this morning and throughout the year as we make policy for this city. Councilmember Yaroslavsky.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, colleagues. Again, I want to thank you, Damian, and your team for all the work that you do. A big thanks for continuing to push us to do better. We need to do better. I think you've heard that reflected around the horseshoe today. We're working on it. For real, we're working on it. And in closing, I just want to thank everyone who continues this important work. Crash survivors, families, safety advocates for ensuring that remembrance is matched with resolve. This concludes our presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all of our guests and advocates that came to support us.